I have nothing written down. I mean, the offer to come to Ashikli, I was reticent, I have to admit. I was reticent. I wasn't sure. Eva's an old friend, and I wasn't sure why I was coming really, apart to support her in her idea. And arriving there and witnessing the landscape and the way the archaeologists work was interesting for the first few days. And I didn't do very much, I just observed. But what I packed with me in my one bag was some Japanese paper, a mulberry paper, a very fine but very strong paper, and a couple of paintbrushes. I didn't bring paint. I wasn't sure. I just thought something would happen. The site, when was it? August. It was August, and on site there were this yellow flower that was blooming everywhere, and I didn't take much notice first of all, and I became interested in the fact that Hassan Dag had exploded at some point. I wasn't sure when. And that obsidian was all over the place. We were picking bits up and getting very excited about it. And then it occurred to me that I could begin to relate just being in the landscape. The work would come from that. And it's almost as though, yes, there is some relationship to people being in the same landscape, 10,500 years ago, but also, millions of years before that too. And I asked at one time, Muga about this plant, which she said was Verbascum. And I asked her at one lunchtime, could she ask these lovely ladies who were cooking the food for us, what did they know about the plant? And they said, well, it came back that, it's been used as a dye. And I thought, okay, I'm an artist. It's paint, dye is paint, it's stain. I can work with that. So I spent the following most of the day out picking little petals off these flowers. And I got a big bag full of it, the view on the right, on the left. And then I cooked it. I borrowed a tin and a cooker from these guys and made a dye. And that was, the smell of the dye was so clean. It was instantly, I kind of recognized it had some healing property. I didn't know what. I felt like it was good for you. And I then painted some papers with it, and the paper actually took the stain beautifully. The paper didn't have a varnish on it, so the dye could infuse into the fibers. And I tried three kinds. I painted one set of papers once, one set twice, and one set 3 times. And of course, the 3 times it was much richer and much deeper. I hung them on the line there, out in the Shikli, and they began to play, they began to work, and some energy came from that. In the back of my mind, I was thinking obsidian, and we gathered a piece of obsidian. We went to look at in the science block, where there was a lump of obsidian the size of 2 heads, and held that. Yeah, this is magical. And of course, we as artists, we were discussing the use of obsidian in the arts as mirrors in the 19th century, but artists before that too in Italy were using obsidian mirrors to observe their work. They hold them up and looking at giving them some space really to look at their work. And these kind of things, they're interesting. So obsidian's good. It also has in more research. When I was back in England, it led to, it was used in ceremonial occasions. And again, like many stones, it has a power, you know, for some people. So I was thinking we were going to go back to Ashikli in 2020 and 2021, and I would collect the dye and make the paper and make this work. And I was going to use ladders, because ladders were used not only by the archaeologists as they dug through the 5 layers? 5 or 6 layers. They are used to move up and down, so they're tangible and they're functional, and I enjoyed that fact. But also that I was told that in the houses, as Eva said, when they became square, there's no evidence of doorways, so they most probably have got in with ladders. So I thought, okay, so there's the double use of ladders. I started placing the papers onto ladders, and I thought when I come back in the following year, in 2020, I would pursue that a bit further, and again in 2021, and then we'd have the project for 22. But of course, we couldn't come back, so there was a bit of a dilemma. Could you show the next slide, please? So here's the papers flying in the wind, and it became like, well, I've never done installation work, and I've begun to sort of play with putting pieces of work in the landscape when I went to visit Skellig Michael, which is on the west coast of Ireland, and it's a kind of 6th century extraordinary place with beehive huts which still stand. You have to take the boat out onto it, and so I thought, I'd been there just before I'd come, and so I thought I'd just, it seemed obvious that this was a beautiful thing, these colours moving in the landscape. And on the right-hand side is the piece I've got showing at the moment in the show in the Hammam, and it's a plate of made with obsidian. It's the left-right centre slice of a brain. As I have data because I had been artist in residence at the Queen Square Brain Bank, and my mother had died with Alzheimer's, and I'd made some work about that, and I subsequently was offered to come and respond to the brain bank and brains. So I was able to scan the full brain, a fresh brain which had come in. They're all in Britain. They're all donated anonymously, and as the pathologist sliced the brain, this is the centre slice, as I said. It scanned on each side, and I thought, well, you're making a piece of art. I'm not a scientist, so we scaled it up a bit, and I made some prints from it, and I'd made some prints on silver leaf with it. And it's a deep emboss. And then for this project, when I realized we cannot use obsidian here from Turkey, I found that I could buy some in America that's ground, and I had it sent over. And we made this, we made a cast from the original plate and cast this obsidian in a resin. It seems to, I don't know, it resonates. I've hung it in a corner, and that has 2 significant things, because it's a black plate, unless the light's on it, which looks like a TV screen, which we all have in our houses these days, a black plate hanging on a wall. But also it's in the corner, and cheekily, it's a bit like what happened when Malevich in the early 20th century in Russia, a forerunner of abstraction in Russia and in the world. He made a piece called Black Square, which is very famous, and he made an exhibition in a room of these different square paintings. But the black square he put up in the corner, high in the corner, the place where the icon normally sits, and he left it there. So in a way, I like the cheeky bit. Well, let's put it on this angle, not flat on the wall. Can we see the next slide, please? So here's installation, Verbascum ladders. As you go into the room, there is the smell of Verbascum. And as I said, the Verbascum is a healing plant. and it's gone from Anatolia, but it's out in America, it's out in East Asia, and it's all over the place. And even when I found I couldn't come back, I begged my friends when they were walking in British countryside, if they found it, would they let me know? And I got a call back within 5 minutes with a photograph of a Verbascum plant. They grow like more than 2 meters tall. And I went straight there. I went 3 times to collect the petals from them, but I also took the root and I took the leaves and kept them separately and made these different batches. So they're slight different colors. And I called the project like Roots for the root of the plant, Bloom for the bloom of the petals, and Boom because the volcano exploded and gave me another element to work with. The Verbascum, as I say, is being used medicinally in all different cultures, and it's been used fascinatingly in more or less the same way. It's very good for your lungs. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's used. The Romans used it to dye their hair when they were here. The Romans also used the leaves as the leaves are very thick and spongy, and they used to keep their feet warm in their moccasins. It's surprisingly one of the things which goes across cultures. It's very good for hemorrhoids. You make a pack of the leaf, make it warm, and you put it on your hemorrhoids. They're still using it today. So it has all these fantastic herbs. So I thought it's great to touch that. I've made some tea with it, which I'm going to give my guests here. Not my guests, your guests. I've made a herbal tea from Verbascum, and you will see the colour. This is how the dye of the paper came.
Thank you.
We wait 15 minutes, see if you die, and then
that'll be after I've spoken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
if I had more cups, I'd give you some. Maybe after.
Cheers.
Chin chin.
Chin chin, do
As Francis Bacon used to say, cheerio. Thank you.
Cheerio.
Thank you very much, Dillwyn.